This particular video, we will discuss about the different theories based on expected utility concept. So the first theory is expected utility theory. Expected utility theory is a framework for understanding how people make decisions when outcomes are uncertain, out of what they expect. If I believe that something is going to happen and I make a decision out of it, then this particular theory is going to give me a framework on how this process is working on. This theory was developed by John von Neumann and Oscar Morgenstern in their work on game theory. So, as they were working on game theory, this theory eventually happened. So, the major purpose of this theory is to explain why people make certain choices by weighing potential outcomes based on their probability and the utility derived from them. So, rather than evidential information, when it comes to investment, people trusted more on their speculations, probability, and how much they believe this particular investment and return is going to satisfy them. So these acted as predominant factors, and this particular theory assesses on how these factors have an impact on the investment behavior of people. The second theory is prospect theory, developed by Kahneman and Tversky. This particular theory was developed as a critic to the expected utility theory that was discussed before. This theory focuses on three key concepts. The first is loss aversion. People are more strong and more intense when losses happen than our gains. Like, rather than focusing on gains in investment, people focus on not losing. People are against losing, they're not okay with losing. This is loss aversion. The second is value function. The value function was observed to be very steep for losses than it was for gains. So people valued loss more than gain. People feared loss more than they enjoyed gains. Probability weighting is one other concept in prospect theory. This particular concept tells that people overweigh small probabilities and underweigh large probabilities. This again gets associated with loss aversion. Just because I do not want to incur a loss, I only take smaller risks and I only do smaller speculations. I do not do larger speculation. So, how do we compare this theory to the expected utility theory? This particular theory offers a more psychologically realistic model of decision making because it is very obvious that any human being is aversive to loss. So, because we have a psychological ground, this theory is considered more advanced than the expected utility theory. The next theory is cumulative prospect theory. This again is an extension of the prospect theory. So, this particular theory suggests that there are, any decision that we take involves a lot of outcomes and several complex probability distributions. So, there's a lot more that is getting involved in decision making rather than just loss aversion. So, the key concepts in this theory are cumulative probability weighting. So different ranges of probabilities have different weights, and all these weights accumulated together will decide whether somebody would invest or refrain from investing in a stock. The second concept is decision weights. This particular concept reflects on how people perceive and weight probabilities in more complex scenarios. So this theory is, this better explains the behavior in lotteries, insurance, and financial decisions. The next theory is risk-dependent utility theory. Uh, this particular theory generalizes expected utility theory to account for subjective probability weighting. So this theory, it goes on the flow that probability weighting and expected utility are two interrelated concepts. So here we discuss on rank-dependent utility and probability weighting function. Rank-dependent utility refers to the preferences. uh, it states that preferences depend on the rank order of outcomes, not just their probabilities. So, this particular concept states that people rank the possible outcomes that they expect. People rank the utilities and not just focus on probabilities. Second is probability weighting function. This reflects on how people distort probabilities in decision making. How probability gets scattered across when it comes to investment decision making. So this particular theory is useful in explaining decisions under risk and uncertainty where outcomes are ranked. The next theory is weighted utility theory. This combines expected utility theory with probability weighting to address its limitation. Key concepts here are weighted utility function. Utilities are adjusted by a weighting function that reflects perceived probabilities. The second is behavioral adjustment. This modifies traditional utility calculations to account for observed deviations from EUT. Application. This particular theory provides insights into customer choices, insurance decisions, and investment strategies. The next theory is dual process theory. Dual process theory explains decision making through two systems. One is intuitive and the other is deliberative. So the system one or intuitive system is fast, automatic, and emotional response, while deliberative system is slow, deliberate, and rational thinking. People intentionally take a decision when it comes to deliberative, but when it comes to the intuitive model, people just follow what their gut tells. So how is this theory related to EUT? Dual process theory highlights how intuitive judgments can deviate from rational expected utility calculations. The next theory is regret theory. Regret theory focuses on the anticipation of regret and its impact on decision making. People avoid choices that could lead to regret. We can otherwise put this as regret aversion. Also, people have something called an expected regret. Decisions are made to minimize potential regret rather than maximize expected utility. I take a decision in a way that I would not regret for having taken that in the future than to consider the utility that that particular decision is going to give me. So, this theory explains choices in scenarios involving potential regret, such as medical decisions and career moves. The next theory is behavioral game theory. This particular theory extends the expected utility theory to strategic interactions and games. So here we discuss about bounded rationality and social preferences. Bounded rationality is nothing but when decision makers use heuristics and rule of thumb rather than full rationality. So they are not fully rational, but are rational with their own rules of thumb. So that is bounded rationality. Social preferences, people incorporate fairness, reciprocity, and other social factors into their decision making models. So here it's a combination of psychology and game theory, thereby we call it behavioral game theory. This theory is used in analyzing negotiations, auctions, and competitive behavior. So in conclusion, there are several theories based out on the expected utility concept, and there are several theories which extend the expected utility theory to better capture real world decision making. So these theories provide us a more nuanced understanding of choices under uncertainty, accounting for psychological and contextual factors. Continued research in behavioral economics and decision theory will refine these models and enhance their applicability. Hope this video would have given you an idea of how expected utility theory is important in behavioral finance and how this particular concept acts as a foundation for a lot of theoretical contributions to the subject. I'll catch you later with another interesting content. Thank you.